Have you ever noticed your body hesitate before you even realize you're about to move? Maybe it happens when you stand up after sitting quietly for a while, or when someone calls your name from another room, and your body takes just a second longer to turn. It isn't dramatic. No pain. No alarm. Just a strange little pause that didn't used to be there. And for many people after 60, those tiny pauses begin appearing in ordinary moments so quietly that life almost moves past them before you can fully notice. But sometimes your body is not losing ability. Sometimes it is simply changing the way it protects you. After a certain age, the body becomes less interested in speed and more interested in stability, less interested in reacting instantly, and more interested in making sure you stay upright, steady, and safe. Your body pauses before you do, and once you begin paying attention to those moments, you realize something important. The body is not betraying you. It is adapting. If you're someone who has started noticing these small changes lately, stay with me today. And if this video helps you feel a little more understood, a little less alone, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because sometimes the smallest changes inside the body are really quiet conversations asking us to move through life differently, not fearfully, just more consciously. There is a moment that happens to many people after 60. You've been sitting for a while, maybe watching television, maybe reading the newspaper at the kitchen table, maybe simply staring out the window while the afternoon light shifts across the floor. Then you stand up, and for one small second, your body doesn't immediately follow. Your feet stay planted. Your balance feels uncertain. Your legs almost seem to wait for permission. It lasts only a moment. Then you begin walking normally again. But something feels slightly less automatic. Earl noticed this one winter morning in Minnesota. He was 72, a retired auto mechanic who still fixed small things around the house because he liked feeling useful with his hands. He had spent most of his life moving quickly without thinking about movement at all. Up ladders, under cars, across icy driveways carrying heavy toolboxes. Then one morning he stood up from his recliner to answer the phone, and found himself gripping the armrest first. Not because he felt weak, because his body wanted reassurance. That surprised him more than anything. He said later that the strange part wasn't the pause itself. It was the realization that his body had started checking the ground before trusting it. That small hesitation often comes from tiny changes in how the brain and inner ear communicate with the muscles. The balance system still works, but it asks for a little more confirmation first. Signals move slightly slower. Muscles become slightly more cautious. Your body becomes more protective about sudden movement. And honestly, that isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes your body is buying you an extra second of safety. One small habit can help during these moments. Before standing up, place both feet flat on the floor. Take one slow breath. Feel your weight settle evenly through both legs before taking the first step. Just 5 seconds. Nothing dramatic. But over time, this tiny pause teaches the body that movement can still feel predictable and stable. Many people notice they feel steadier throughout the day when they stop rushing the transition from sitting to standing. Not faster, just smoother. And maybe that's the real shift after 60. The body no longer wants to launch itself into motion. It wants to arrive there carefully. Have you noticed yourself holding onto furniture for just a second longer lately, even when you don't really need to? Another moment often appears in places with low light. You wake up during the night, maybe to use the bathroom, maybe because the house suddenly feels too quiet. You place your feet on the floor and begin walking through the dark hallway. But for a few seconds, you feel strangely disoriented. Not lost exactly, just less certain about where your body is in space. Your eyes search the room differently now. Your steps become smaller without you deciding to make them smaller. You notice it for a second. Then life moves on. Marlene experienced this after moving into a small lakeside apartment in Michigan following her husband's passing. She loved the quiet there. Every morning she walked beside the water with a cup of coffee and watched the mist rise off the lake. But at night she noticed something changing. When she got up in the dark, she often paused beside the bed before walking, one hand lightly touching the dresser. At first, she thought she was simply tired, but eventually she realized her body was waiting for orientation. The inner balance system depends heavily on visual information, and after 60, the brain sometimes needs a little longer to combine signals from the eyes, ears, and feet when lighting changes suddenly. The body becomes more careful in unfamiliar visual conditions. Again, protective, not broken. A tiny reset habit can help here too. Before taking your first nighttime step, pause and look at one stable object in the room. A doorway, a lamp, a chair. Let your eyes anchor your body first. Then walk. That short moment helps the brain organize space more clearly before movement begins. Many older adults find that nighttime confidence improves simply by giving the body one extra moment to orient itself. It sounds almost too simple, but the body responds to reassurance more than force. Sometimes stability begins with attention. And maybe that explains why so many people after 60 stop rushing through dark rooms altogether. The body knows what the mind often ignores. Safety matters more now. Have you ever entered a dark room lately and felt your body slow down automatically before your thoughts even caught up? There is another strange little change many people notice while turning. Someone calls your name while you're walking. You turn quickly. But your body seems to follow your head instead of moving together all at once. For a brief second, your balance feels delayed, not enough to fall, not enough to scare you badly, but enough to notice. Your body pauses before you do. Ruth experienced this at her granddaughter's birthday party in Arizona. She was 78, a former elementary school teacher who still loved reading late into the night with a blanket over her knees and a cup of peppermint tea nearby. During the party, one of her grandchildren shouted her name from behind. She turned too quickly while carrying paper plates, and suddenly her feet felt as though they had lost track of her upper body for half a second. She caught herself immediately. No disaster, no injury. But she remembered the feeling afterward, the strange sensation that her movement had become slightly out of sync. This often happens because turning requires complex coordination between vision, neck movement, balance signals, and leg adjustments. After 60, the body sometimes prefers transitions to happen in smaller stages instead of one fast motion. It isn't weakness, it's caution. The body becomes less trusting of abrupt changes in direction. One gentle habit can help restore confidence during these moments. Before turning fully, pause your feet first. Let your eyes move toward the direction you're going. Then allow the body to follow. Just a few seconds. That tiny sequence helps the balance system organize movement more smoothly. Many people feel more grounded immediately after practicing this, especially in crowded places or busy environments. And honestly, there's something quietly wise about the body slowing sudden turns. You become more present inside movement itself, less reactive, more aware. Maybe aging is not only about moving slower. Maybe it is also about moving more consciously. Have you started noticing that your body sometimes wants a moment to catch up when you change direction quickly? One of the strangest changes often happens in the hands. Not dramatic shaking, not obvious weakness, just a subtle feeling that objects require more attention now. A glass of water, a coffee mug, a bowl carried from the kitchen to the table. You suddenly realize you're concentrating slightly more than before. Something feels slightly less automatic. Victor noticed this while watering plants on his back porch in Oregon. He had always considered himself steady-handed. Even at 74, he still enjoyed repairing small radios and polishing old pocket watches he collected over the years. But one afternoon, he picked up a glass pitcher and felt himself adjusting his grip halfway through the motion. Not because it was heavy, because his hand no longer trusted movement blindly. That feeling stayed with him. The body changes the way it manages fine control after 60. Small muscles in the hands and forearms begin coordinating more carefully. Nerve signals may slow slightly. Grip pressure becomes more deliberate. And often the body responds by increasing attention during ordinary tasks. Protective again, not failing. Sometimes the body is simply trying to prevent small accidents before they happen. A simple reset habit can help restore steadiness. Before lifting something, lightly feel the object with your fingers first. Not grabbing immediately, just letting the hand recognize the weight and texture for 1 second before lifting. That tiny pause improves coordination more than people expect. Many older adults discover that careful awareness actually creates smoother movement than rushing ever did. And perhaps that's the hidden lesson underneath many of these body changes. Confidence after 60 is no longer built from speed. It's built from connection. The body wants you to participate in movement now, not just assume it will happen automatically. Have you noticed yourself paying more attention to ordinary objects lately? Even simple things like carrying a cup across the room? There's another moment many people recognize immediately once it's mentioned. You're walking normally through the house. Then your foot reaches the edge of a rug, or a small curb, or a crack in the sidewalk. And suddenly your attention sharpens. Not fear exactly, but awareness. Your body checks the ground before stepping. You notice it for a second. Then life moves on. Denise began noticing this during her morning walks in South Carolina. She was 69 and spent weekends caring for her 2 young grandsons while her daughter worked hospital shifts. The boys were energetic, always running ahead. One morning while walking behind them near a park trail, Denise approached a slightly uneven patch of pavement. Years earlier, she would have crossed it without thought. But now her eyes dropped automatically toward the ground. Her stride shortened. Her body became quieter and more focused. And strangely, that awareness made her emotional afterward. Because she realized something important. Her body no longer assumed the world was predictable. It wanted confirmation first. This often happens because the brain becomes more sensitive to balance interruptions over time. The muscles and nervous system begin prioritizing safe footing before forward momentum. Again, not weakness, protection. The body becomes more interested in preserving stability than proving agility. One tiny habit can help here too. Before stepping over uneven surfaces, let your entire foot settle fully onto the ground first. Feel the weight transfer completely before taking the next step. No rushing, just clarity. Many people report feeling more stable on stairs and sidewalks simply by allowing their feet to finish one movement before beginning another. And maybe this is why older adults sometimes move differently than younger people in subtle ways. Not because they cannot move quickly, because the body has learned the value of certainty. After enough years, stability begins to feel more precious than speed. Have you caught yourself looking down more often while walking lately, even in places you know well? Another strange change appears during very ordinary tasks that require balance on one leg, putting on shoes, pulling on pants, stepping into the bathtub. Suddenly the wall nearby becomes important, not because you're unable to balance, but because your body quietly prefers reassurance. Howard noticed this one morning while dressing for church in North Carolina. At 76, he still considered himself active. He trimmed his own hedges, drove everywhere independently, refused help carrying groceries. But while standing on one foot to put on his shoe, he realized his fingertips had automatically rested against the closet wall. The movement happened before conscious thought. That unsettled him for a moment, until he understood something deeper. The body was not panicking. It was adapting its strategy. Single leg balance requires enormous coordination between the feet, hips, spine, inner ear, and visual system. After 60, the body often reduces unnecessary risk by seeking extra points of contact, even tiny ones. A fingertip against the wall can provide enough information to help the balance system feel safer. That's remarkable when you think about it. The body is constantly finding ways to protect independence quietly in the background. One simple habit can strengthen confidence here. Before standing on one leg, exhale slowly, and let your eyes focus on one unmoving point in front of you. Then shift your weight carefully instead of quickly. 10 seconds. That's all. Over time, this teaches the body that balance does not need to feel rushed or unstable. Many older adults regain tremendous confidence simply by slowing transitions instead of forcing strength. And perhaps one of the hardest emotional adjustments after 60 is accepting that confidence may no longer come from doing things automatically. It may come from doing them attentively. There's wisdom in that. The body becomes less careless with itself. Have you started reaching for walls or counters more often lately? Not out of fear, but almost out of instinct. There is one final body change many people never talk about openly. It happens during walking itself. You begin changing direction, and for a brief moment, your body feels like it trails slightly behind the movement. Almost like your upper body and lower body need an extra second to agree with each other. It isn't dramatic, but you feel it. Leonora noticed this while shopping alone at a grocery store in New Mexico. She had always walked quickly. Friends used to joke that they struggled to keep up with her. But one afternoon she turned sharply near the produce section after spotting a neighbor across the aisle. And for a brief second, her feet seemed uncertain about where to go next. No stumble, just hesitation. That stayed with her longer than she expected. Not because it frightened her, because it made her aware of her body in a completely new way. Walking used to feel invisible. Now it felt like a conversation between different parts of herself. This subtle delay often happens because coordination systems need slightly more processing time during motion changes. The brain becomes more careful about momentum, especially during sideways movement or sudden redirection. Again, the body is protecting you, buying time, checking stability, prioritizing safety over speed. One small reset habit can help greatly. Before changing direction while walking, briefly lower your gaze toward the ground ahead, not downward in fear. Just enough to give the brain a visual map of where your body is going next. Then turn gently. Many people feel instantly steadier doing this, because the body loves predictability, and maybe that's the deeper truth hidden underneath all these small changes. After 60, the body begins asking for partnership, not domination, not force, not denial, partnership. It wants you to notice it again, to move with awareness instead of assumption, to treat stability as something valuable instead of something automatic. And honestly, perhaps there is something deeply human about that shift. When we are younger, we move through life quickly because we believe time is endless. Later in life, movement becomes more thoughtful, more intentional. The body stops taking unnecessary chances, not because it has given up, because it wants to stay with you longer. That is not weakness, that is intelligence. So many people become frightened when they notice these small hesitations. The slower turn, the careful first step, the hand against the wall, the extra glance toward the floor. But many of these moments are not warnings of collapse. Often, they are signs that the body is becoming more protective, more deliberate, more aware of preserving balance and independence. The first thing that changes is not always strength. Sometimes it is trust. The body simply stops assuming every movement will be safe automatically. And once you understand that, something inside you softens. You stop fighting every small change. You start listening instead. You begin working with your body instead of judging it. That shift matters more than people realize. Because confidence after 60 does not come from pretending nothing has changed. It comes from understanding the changes without fear. The people who remain independent the longest are often not the fastest people. They are the people who stay connected to their bodies, who notice small signals early, who move carefully without shame, who understand that awareness itself is a kind of strength. And perhaps most importantly, they do not go through these experiences believing they are alone, because they are not. Millions of older adults quietly notice these same moments every single day. The slower first step in the morning, the extra breath before standing, the careful turn in a crowded room, the gentle touch against the stair railing. Small things, very human things. And sometimes those small moments are not the end of confidence. They are the beginning of a wiser relationship with the body. So tonight, or tomorrow morning, pay attention gently, not critically. Notice how your body prepares itself before movement. Notice how often it is trying to protect you quietly in the background. And instead of becoming frustrated by every pause, perhaps thank your body for still working so hard to keep you steady, even now, especially now. If any part of this video felt familiar, I would truly love to hear from you in the comments. What is one small body change you've noticed recently that surprised you? Maybe something tiny, something you almost ignored. Your experience may help someone else feel less alone. And if this video brought you comfort or understanding, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more conversations like this. Thank you sincerely for spending this time with me today. Take care of yourself gently, move through the world patiently, and remember that your body is not your enemy. It is still trying, every single day, to carry you safely through life. May your steps stay steady, and may your body continue to feel like a safe place to live in every single day.